All right, thank you so much, Lee. And we are obviously so pleased to be here on SuperAwesome's 10th anniversary. So if you work with SuperAwesome, you should expect everything we do to start with insight, to start with us trying to think deeply about what is going on in the youth ecosystem. And this session is no different. We want to start by trying to frame it with what we think are some of the most important things happening culturally in the youth digital ecosystem, and that's fandoms. So if you were here last year, we talked about atomized attention. We talked about how youth attention had been broken down across a whole bunch of different silos and small parts of the creator economy. Today, we want to talk about the power of fandoms to bring audiences and brands and platforms together across that ecosystem. So let's dive in. So first of all, just quickly, what is a fandom? A fandom is very simple. As a reminder, a fandom is simply an IP-led community of shared interest. It is a thing that you are into that you would talk to your friends about, whether digitally or in real life. And of course, fandoms aren't new. This is Beatlemania. There is nothing new about communities and groups of people being into a band or music or their favorite TV show or their favorite sports club. But fandoms have got way more important. One way of thinking about that is just by the sheer level of engagement you see. This is Comic-Con from 1970, 300 people in a basement of a shabby hotel in San Francisco. Wind the clock forward to last year, more people at Comic-Con in San Francisco than were at the Super Bowl. But it's not just about the level of engagement, it's not just about the number of people, it's also about the type of engagement. Fandoms have become, fandoms have become more collaborative, fandoms have become more co-owned, they've become more dynamic, and it's mastering that ecosystem that is going to be key for brands and marketers in the era to come. And what's more, fandoms are also themselves dynamic. For every individual, for every cohort, for every group, one of the things we really believe is there's a constant cycle of fandoms being discovered, engaged with, and sometimes drop. Sometimes people move on. Sometimes brands connected with a fandom can lose the fans and can lose their connection with the community. But that can also be rediscovered, it can be rebrought. So for every fan, for every individual in this fast-moving world, there's this constant cycle of discovery, engagement, and reinvention that brands need to master. And so this was an area that we at SuperAwesome have been super keen to dive into. So a lot of what I'm going to talk to you about comes from our most recent piece of research on fandoms, from discovery to devotion. This is a super exciting piece for us because not only do we go out and do traditional survey work, we also went to go and do really deep qualitative interviews with the creators and YouTubers who spend their time immersed in fandom all day, every day. We think they're like an incredible source of insight into how you actually connect with fandoms in the creator economy. And for the first time, we were also able to use at-scale data from our Awesome Intelligence platform to pull real scaled proprietary platform data into that research and insight to drive the data and the research that we did there. So there's over 800,000 data points informing this work. Now, in the time I have, I cannot go through all of those 800,000 data points with you. So I thought I'd try and condense the message. And you're going to hear a lot today, as you already did from Lee, about the power of memes. And so I thought we would start, obviously, with the motherlode of all memes, the Matrix. What if I told you that marketing needed to change? This world of fandoms means we need to move on from traditional marketing metrics of impressions, of reach, perhaps of engagement rate, and move to a world where we're more focused on collaboration, where we're more focused on co-creation, where we're more focused on community. In short, that we move to conversations, not campaigns. Because if fandoms are one thing, they are social. I think it's if you take nothing else away from this session, if you think about that discovery piece of fandom, discovery almost invariably starts socially. Even for a show on a platform like Netflix, only a small minority of fans actually discover that show for the first time on Netflix or on Amazon Prime or on Disney+. When those shows launch, what they're doing is they're connecting with a small audience of seed fans, and it's those seed fans who then go and tell their friends about it, who start conversations about it, who create content about it, and it's those conversations and that social content that really gets the fandoms rolling. Fandoms are social and they start with conversation. So if we're in this discovery phase, if we're thinking about how we spark fandom, where does that conversation begin? Well, the answer very often is with creators. What's one of the number one things that people do after they have seen a piece of creator content? They go and talk to their friends about it. It's that act of engaging with the creator that starts the conversation and begins real-world fandoms moving in the social ecosystem. So it's by working with the right trusted creators who are relevant to fans and who are relevant to a fandom that you can begin to start the Gen Alpha conversation. And I think a great example of this is K-pop Demon Hunters, which has obviously been blowing up recently. K-pop Demon Hunters launched on Netflix, but the majority of fans, exactly as we talked about, did not discover it on Netflix. Instead, they found out about it in the social ecosystem. And there's an awful lot in that IP and in that show that is carefully designed to really draw on kind of these deep wells of K-pop fandom that made it a really rich thing for creators to be talking about. And so as Radford Seacrest, one of the creators of K-pop Demon Hunters, said, kids only watch shows where they're seeing people talk about it on YouTube. It's the social content ecosystem and talkability that drives the power of the show. Okay, so we've sparked the conversation. We've begun to move Gen Alpha into the journey of fandom. What drives them deeper? Again, it's more content and it's more conversation. What are the top reasons that someone gets more into a fandom? My friends got into it. It trended online. I saw more content about it. There's this interactive process between content and conversation that moves people deeper down the funnel of being attracted to a fandom they might be into. And again, I think this is a great example. Do we have anyone from Disney in the room? We have a couple of cautious hands up. Great work here. Like this, we think this is an amazing example of using content to drive talkability. This is Disney dropping the whole of High School Musical in 90-second cut downs on TikTok. So not only are you meeting your audience where they are on TikTok, not only are you driving content into the conversation, you're doing it in a way which is inherently talkable. And so there is more content on TikTok about the fact that Disney dropped the movie than there are views for the movie itself. So this is an incredible moment, I think, of using content and creator-led platforms to spark a conversation. So we said we'd hear more about memes. If it's important to have kids and it's important to have Gen Alpha driving a conversation and drive it digitally, what does that conversation look like? How do they have that conversation? What tools are they using to have a conversation about your brand or about your IP? Well, very often the answer is memes. I think a great example of this is the show Dexter. Dexter launched in 2006. It finished in 2013. As one of our creators says, it kind of fell off. But Dexter is highly, highly memeable. And as a new generation began to discover that they could meme the hell out of this thing through things like the Dokes meme, if you haven't seen, I just can't prove it yet. The internet is full of it. As Gen Alpha discovered that they could meme the hell out of this, suddenly the show surged in relevance. Views started coming back. The show's now been recommissioned for new seasons. And so what the memeability of this show did is it drove relevance because it gave Gen Alpha a way to talk about it. And so my 16-year-old daughter, who was not born when this show was first launched, is pinging Dexter memes around her friendship group. Now, as brands, you can get involved in this. This is one of my favorite examples. This is a creator on TikTok who created her own meme for the Dr. Pepper theme song. Dr. Pepper got behind this, picked it up as an official thing. There are ways for brands to intercept meme culture if you're quick, if you're authentic, and if you're prepared to take some risk. And I think this is a good example of something that really worked out for Dr. Pepper, driving tens of millions of dollars worth of earned media value by being able to think creatively and quickly about how to intercept meme culture. But memes aren't just a way of transmitting existing fandoms. They can also help us build new fandoms. So if you want an example of the real power of meme culture, Italian brain rot is a great example. Now, if you don't know Italian brain rot, I probably can't explain it to you in full detail now. There's a lot to go into, but it's essentially a series of absurd characters that began life on TikTok, got picked up by other creators, remixed, respun, reshared. No individual owned this IP. This is a bunch of creators coming together in a very collaborative, decentralized way. But as this blew up on TikTok, Roblox developers and Fortnite developers began to pick up the memes and turn those into game experiences. And there is real connection and real money and real value here. So if you look at the top performing, top grossing Roblox games of the second half of last year, Steal a Brain Rot, inspired by Italian Brain Rot, did nearly $100 million in revenue, and that's before toy lines are beginning to launch. So if you look at where the value is being created in the modern media and cultural ecosystem, this is entirely spawned by community-owned, decentralized, meme-enabled IP. So memes are powerful. But if you can master that and you've been able to move your fans and your community down that funnel into the engage phase, this as a marketer is where you've won. This is where you have your most engaged fans who are just obsessed with the fandom that you've built. And so 80% of Gen Alpha spend something on their fandom. Many of them spend in excess of £100 a year. And what they really want to do is they want to show their fandom. They want to demonstrate that they're into this thing. They want to badge. They want to demonstrate that they are into that IP. And so give them the tools to do that, whether that's Roblox UGC, whether that's skins or icons on other platforms. This is how you really want to be able to help Gen Alpha badge their fandom. Now, important question on engagement, which platform do you do it on? In all of our research, we see that YouTube is a must, but you can't be on every platform. And as a brand, you shouldn't be. You need to think about the right platforms for your audience and your community and your fandom. For a gaming platform, that's probably Twitch, it's Discord, or it's Roblox. All really strong community platforms that are incredibly powerful. For music, it's TikTok and Spotify from our research that are leading the pack. But wherever you go, you need to think carefully about which platform is right for you, and as you'll hear later on, Awesome Intelligence can increasingly help you make good decisions in that space. But so once you've picked your platform, this is where you can build a community. This is where the engage phase can really help you sustain the fandom. Because most fans do not join online communities. It's something of a myth that everyone is spending time chatting online about their fandom. It's only the most engaged 20% or so that join an online community. But those fans are super fans. Almost any desirable fandom behavior, going to an event, creating their own content, following a creator, fans who are in online communities are more than twice as likely to exhibit those behaviors. So if you want to recruit the foot soldiers of your fandom, the people who are going to help sustain it and give it life and make it sustainable, it's by finding smart online community engagements with those core fans that you can really do that. All right, so we've sparked the conversation, we've moved fans down the funnel, we've engaged them, we've helped them badge their fandom, we've built online communities where they can engage and sustain and nourish the fandom. What about aging out? There is always an aging out risk. I know for the top reasons, the possibility that maybe you just grow out of it, maybe you just get bored. But we also hear a lot, again, this is social. My friends weren't interested in the fandom, or maybe there wasn't enough content. And so again, I think it's key to to think about how we can feed the creative content machine to keep that conversation going. And a huge part of that comes from having a deep library of lore and IP to draw on. So if you look at some of the best sustained and biggest fandoms out there, whether it's things like Harry Potter or Marvel, what they're really doing is drawing on deep lore, backstory, and character behind all of their stories. So if you have that in your brand, if you have that in your product, let's tell that story. I think it was interesting even to see McDonald's recently diving into trading cards. They're trying to find new ways of creating new surface areas for content to drive the content creation ecosystem. So that's just a small dive through the world of fandom. If you want to learn more, I'd recommend that everyone download the full report. Please do go grab a QR code now. And if those are also on your flyers too. Cool. But I wanted to close with some brand actions. As I said before, I think we have moved in many ways beyond the traditional metrics of campaigns. We've moved to a place where conversation is key, where engagement and talkability need to be our new watchwords. And we can use creators to power those conversations. We can use online community to sustain them. And you'll hear more through the rest of the sessions about some specific examples of places we've been able to do that. But as we also heard, it's key to pick your platform, to show up where the next generation are. And there is no platform and no mode of engagement that is growing more quickly and demonstrating better results right now than audio. And so having got to know him and his team and the work that he does in this ecosystem a bit over the last few months, I can tell you I could not genuinely be more delighted to welcome to the stage Jed Baker, our head of audio.